Alright, let's talk about something that honestly sits in the back of a lot of people's minds. You ever check your bank account and just kind of pause, not because something dramatic happened, not because you're broke, exactly, but because it's just the same again. Maybe you're making $500 a month on the side, or maybe that's all you have left after bills. Either way, it's this weird middle ground where you're not in crisis, but you're definitely not moving forward either. And then your brain does that thing. It starts doing the math. If I saved $500 every month, that's $6,000 a year. So, I'd need like 166 years to hit $1 million? And you just kind of laugh. Or maybe you don't, because it's not funny. It's frustrating. And I think about this stuff way more than I probably should. My name is Nick, and I've spent an unreasonable amount of time obsessing over money, how people build it, and more importantly, why most people don't, even when they're trying really hard. Because here's the thing, nobody really explains properly. Getting from $500 a month to $1 million is not about saving harder. It's not even really about earning more in the way most people think. It's about understanding a sequence, a progression, a set of shifts, mental, financial, and strategic, that completely change how money behaves in your life. And once you see that sequence clearly, things start to click in a way that feels almost unfair. So what I want to do in this video is walk you through that entire journey, step by step, not in a 10 quick tips kind of way, but in a real, messy, human way. The kind of path that actually works in real life. Because going from $500 a month to $1 million isn't a straight line. It's more like a staircase you can't see until you're already climbing it. So we talked about making your $500 predictable, but there's something underneath that. Something a little uncomfortable you have to actually accept. Where you are financially before you can change it. And I know that sounds simple, almost obvious, but think about how most people handle money. They avoid it. They don't check their accounts regularly. They round numbers in their head. They say things like, I'm doing okay, or it's not that bad. And yeah, maybe it's not that bad, but vague thinking creates vague results. I remember opening my bank app during a phase where I was trying to get serious about money, and I'd kind of scroll quickly. Like I didn't want to stare too long, almost like if I looked too closely, I'd confirm something I didn't want to feel. And that right there, that hesitation, that tiny moment of avoidance, that's the real starting point. Because when you're at $500 a month, your biggest advantage isn't capital. It's awareness. If you know exactly where your money is coming from, where it's going, and what's left over, why you're already ahead of most people. And yeah, it feels tedious. Tracking expenses, categorizing things, noticing that you spent way more on random stuff than you thought. It's not glamorous, but it's clarifying. It's like turning on the lights in a messy room. At first, it's overwhelming. But then you realize, okay, at least now I can clean this. Here's something practical you can do right now, for the next 30 days. Don't try to fix anything, just observe. Write down every expense, every dollar earned, every impulse, purchase, and don't judge yourself while doing it. That's important. Because judgment makes you hide, and hiding keeps you stuck. Instead, treat it like data collection, like you're studying someone else's life. Because once you see the patterns clearly, change becomes almost inevitable. Step 2. Expanded. The income shift, escaping the time trap. Now, let's talk about something that people say all the time, but rarely explain properly. Just increase your income. Okay, how? And more importantly, what kind of income? Because not all income is equal. There's a quiet trap that a lot of people fall into when they're trying to improve their finances. They start doing more hours, more gigs, more effort. And for a while, it works. They go from $500 to $800, maybe even $1,200, and it feels like progress. But then something weird happens. They hit a ceiling because time is limited, energy is limited, and suddenly, every extra dollar requires more sacrifice. That's the moment where you realize, you don't just need more income, you need better structured income. Let me give you a simple way to think about this. There are 3 levels. Linear income, you work. You get paid. Leveraged income, you create once. Earn multiple times. System-based income, you build something that operates beyond you. At the $500 stage, most people are stuck in linear income, which is fine at first. But your goal should be to slowly move up that ladder. I knew someone who started by tutoring students online. At first, it was completely linear. 1 hour equals 1 payment. Then they recorded lessons. Then they sold those lessons as a course. Then they hired other tutors and took a percentage. Same starting point, completely different outcome. And here's the key insight. You don't need a genius idea. You need a repeatable process, something simple that works, that you can improve over time. Actionable shift. Ask yourself, can I package this? Can I automate part of this? Can I delegate this eventually? Even small improvements in structure can double or triple your income over time. Alright, this is where things get real, because this is the phase where most people quietly give up, not dramatically, not in a I quit everything kind of way, but in a slow, subtle drift. You've made progress, you're earning more than before, but it still doesn't feel like freedom, and the effort, still high. This creates a dangerous emotional mix. Progress, but not enough, but no, but also doubt, and your brain starts negotiating with you. Maybe this isn't the right path. Maybe I should try something else. Maybe this just isn't for me. And honestly, sometimes those thoughts are valid, but more often, they're just discomfort, because you're in the middle. Not at the start, not at the breakthrough. The middle is always the hardest part. It's like watching water heat up at 20 degrees Celsius. Nothing happens. At 50 degrees Celsius, still nothing. At 90 degrees Celsius, still looks the same. And then suddenly, it boils. But if you stopped at 80 degrees Celsius, you'd think the whole process doesn't work. That's this phase. What actually matters here isn't intensity, it's consistency. You don't need to double your effort. You need to not stop. Even if progress feels slow. Even if results feel underwhelming, because momentum compounds. And breaking momentum is expensive. Actionable takeaway. Set a minimum standard, for example, 1 hour per day. 5 days a week. Focus on showing up, not optimizing everything. Avoid the temptation to restart from zero. Now we get to a turning point. You're earning more, maybe $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month, and something starts to feel different. You're busy. Like really busy. And at first, that feels like success, until it DOESN single quotes T. Because now your problem isn't lack of money. Lack of time. And this is where a lot of people accidentally trap themselves again. They become the bottleneck. Everything depends on them. Every task, every decision, every output. And growth slows down. This is where you learn one of the most important skills in building wealth: letting go. Which sounds simple, but feels uncomfortable, because nobody will do things exactly like you. They'll make mistakes, they'll be slower at first. And your instinct will be to take control again. But if you do that, you stay stuck. I remember the first time I outsourced something small. It wasn't even a big task, and I spent more time worrying about it being done correctly than it would have taken to just do it myself. But over time, something clicked. Done is better than perfect, and freed time is more valuable than perfect execution. Because that freed time can be used to find new opportunities, improve your system, increase your income further. That's how you multiply yourself, not by working harder, but by creating space. Now we revisit investing, but from a completely different perspective, because now you actually have something to invest, and more importantly, you have the discipline to do it consistently. This is where wealth starts to feel real. Not flashy, not dramatic. But real, because you're no longer dependent on a single source of income. You're building assets. And assets don't just sit there, they grow, compound. They create new opportunities. Let's say you invest $2,000 a month. At first, it feels slow. Your portfolio moves a little up, down, sideways, nothing exciting. But then a year passes, then 2, then 5, and suddenly, the growth starts accelerating. Not because you're doing anything different. But because your money is now working alongside you. And here's the part people underestimate. Consistency beats timing. You don't need to perfectly predict markets, you need to consistently participate in them. Actionable mindset. Treat investing like a monthly bill. Automate it. Ignore short-term noise, because this is the stage where patience becomes profitable. This part is subtle, but it might be the most important. At some point, the mechanics aren't the problem anymore. It's identity. Do you see yourself as someone who builds wealth, or someone who just tries to make money? Because those are very different mindsets. One is reactive, the other is intentional. I noticed this shift when I stopped asking, how can I make more this month? And started asking, what am I building over the next 5 years? That question changes everything. It changes your patience, your risk tolerance, your decisions. Actionable takeaway. Start thinking in longer time horizons. Define what you're actually building. Align your daily actions with that vision. This is the part everyone wants to skip to. The moment when your investments start generating noticeable returns, your income streams feel stable, your net worth grows faster than your effort. It doesn't happen suddenly. It creeps up on you. You check your accounts one day and realize, wait, that's more than I expected. And then it keeps happening. That's the snowball effect. Years of effort start compounding into visible results. And this is where the path to $1 million becomes inevitable. Not guaranteed overnight, but predictable, because you've built income systems, assets, discipline, and those things reinforce each other, bringing it all together. So let's zoom out for a second. Going from $500 a month to $1 million isn't about one big breakthrough. It's about a series of shifts, from unstable to consistent, from saving to earning, from earning to scaling, from scaling to investing, from investing to compounding, and each step feels small while you're in it, almost insignificant. But together, they create something massive. And I think the most important thing to understand is this. You don't need to see the entire path. You just need to see the next step. Because trying to jump from $500 to $1 million in your head, that's overwhelming. But going from $500 to $1,000, that's doable. Then $1,000 to $3,000, then $3,000 to $5,000, and suddenly, you're not where you started anymore. If you take anything from this, let it be this idea. Wealth isn't built in giant leaps. It's built in layers. Slow, sometimes frustrating, often invisible layers. There will be months where it feels like nothing is working, where progress is so small it's almost insulting, where you question whether any of this is worth it. That's normal. That's part of it. Because the truth is, most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they stop too early. They leave the staircase before it becomes visible. So if you're at $500 right now, you're not behind, you're at the beginning of something. And beginnings always feel slow. But if you stay consistent, if you focus on the right shifts at the right time, that $500 won't stay $500 forever. And one day, you'll look back and realize, that was the moment everything started.